The Democratic Party, which has historically been the party that represented labor, made a shift, and RFK Jr. has talked about this, but made a shift in the 70s and 80s toward taking more corporate money, which had historically been the province of Republican politicians, and started to have more conservative economic policies as a consequence of that. So now you have two economically conservative parties that distinguish themselves solely on the basis of how they react to cultural issues. And so we've had a ratcheting up of the division around those cultural issues, taking relatively small populations like trans kids, of which there are only a few thousand, and making them a national case so that no one is paying attention to the fact that their bank accounts are getting smaller, their dollar goes less far than it did before, the price of housing has ballooned, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I think there is some real legitimate nostalgia for yesteryear. I don't think it's necessarily that productive to just generally cast back into the past and say, well, it was better that back then, without talking about the fact that the tax rate for the rich was much higher. Corporate tax rate was much higher. We had much more robust funding to social programs, et cetera. There's a reason why things were better back then for the average American. But I do think he's very right to tap into the feeling, and again, not for all Americans, of course, but to the feeling that economically our policies were much more populist in the past.